Welcome everyone to the another episode. Today we have a Christen Ruiz all the way from US. So she is a speaker, entrepreneur, and a life alchemist who helps women transmute their trauma into power and rise unapologetically. So after growing an autism service company to $8 million in revenue, Christen lost it all, her business, her parents, her marriage, and almost herself. So in this episode, we're going to learn more about Christens Journey, how she got back herself up, how she got out of the lowest moment of her life, also rebuilding everything from bottom up and everything in between to inspire you in this episode. So without further ado, let's welcome Christen to the show. Christen, welcome to the show and how are you doing today?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm absolutely honored.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, and I'm excited to have the conversation with you. And it's never easy, like losing everything and starting something from scratch. I've been there so many times, and it's very difficult time. Sometimes not many people can understand it, or sometimes people feels too sorry for you, and this is what you don't want to do as well. And that during the time, so walk us through about your journey. Like I like to start from very early stage of your life, growing up, who you used to be, what was your goals and mission, and who you wants to be as a growing up, and then we can get to the point of like you losing everything.
Yeah, absolutely. So growing up, I was always a very strong-willed, strong-minded child, is how my parents would describe me. I was always very tenacious. If I said I was going to do something, I was going to do it, and nothing was really going to get in my way. Um, when I moved out to go to college, I went to the University of Maryland. I noticed now, when I've been on my healing journey, that I started being very complacent and I started shrinking myself to make other people comfortable. And that's kind of where my abuse pattern started. So I started becoming abused by a lot of the people in my life when I was in college, and it kind of trickled into and up until the past few years.
Yeah. So during the time, when you started your business, like how old are you? Like, is that your first business, or like did you had prior to any other businesses you started off, or like any other career path like you have chosen?
No, so I walked into the world of autism when I was 19. Actually, I stumbled upon it. I was originally going to school for kinesiology, and there was this poster in the hallway saying, you can make $15 an hour working with children on the autism spectrum. And I was like, heck yes, no more ramen noodles. Count me in.
Hmm.
And so that is actually how I stumbled into autism. And then I made the big jump from Maryland to South Carolina, started working for a few different companies down here, and I just didn't agree with the ethical standards. So I said, I never really wanted to work for anyone else anyway. I'm going to go ahead and start my own company. So I started my own company. It took off but by the time we even had our grand opening, we already had two locations. Within 2 years, we ended up pretty much taking the whole state of South Carolina, and we were only smaller than a national company. So we were the largest locally based company in South Carolina very quickly. It grew very quickly.
Yeah. And what was the business about? What kind of products or services you guys selling?
Yes, so we did applied behavioral analysis for children on the autism spectrum.
Mhm. If you can explain a little bit for our listeners so they can understand better.
Yes, absolutely. So it is the science of human behavior. So learning about why is this behavior happening, and then implementing different behavioral interventions for those children to either help increase desired behaviors or decrease not so desirable behaviors.
Okay. So, did you had any kind of background around that to start the kind of business? Did you do any study or anything like that? So I'm just trying to figuring out like how you got interested in this kind of business, and it's quite technical, isn't it?
Yes, it was quite technical. So, actually, no, I was originally going to school for kinesiology, and then I ended up dropping out of the University of Maryland after 3 years. When I moved down here, I did get my degree in child development and family studies, and I did go on to get my master's in psychology with an emphasis in applied behavioral analysis. So I had the clinical background and the scholarly background once I got those. But I really, with applied behavioral analysis and working with children in the autism field, I really found a lot more value in the field work. And since
Mhm.
I've been doing it since I was 19 and I started the company when I was 26, I had a very good amount of field experience.
Okay, makes sense. So what went wrong, like, is after starting and growing rapidly and like you guys taking over like in close to national level and then losing it? Like, is that your relationship fall apart at the first or like your business? Like, what went wrong?
Yeah, absolutely. So everything for me started in January of 2021. My father was actually our medical biller. So what would happen with my company is the therapist would go out, they would work with the children, and then we would bill insurance. So my dad was the one who would bill the insurance as well. In January of 21, we lost my mother fairly unexpectedly, and he stopped billing for us.
I'm so
So
sorry for your
then
loss.
Oh, it's okay. I processed everything, but thank you. Um, so when he stopped billing for us, we were left scrambling. So I'm very bad at technology, as you could probably tell with the audio difficulties I had in the beginning.
Mhm.
Technology is not my forte. So my business partner ended up taking on the billing. And what happened was we were making about 150 to about $250,000 a week when my dad was billing. But then when she took over, we were recouping about 20,000, anywhere from 10 to 20,000. So we just were not recouping the amount of money that was being worked. So our payroll expense compared to what we were actually being reimbursed for was staggering difference.
Yeah. And like how long after like losing your mother, like you lost the business as well?
Yes, so the business officially closed in April of 2022. My father actually got very sick in July of 2021 and he passed away in October of 21. So there was a lot of
Wow.
different moving parts happening. 21 and 22 were not great years for me.
Yeah, I can see that why. I think like it's the same timing. It's like I had a worst moment of my life as well, 2021 and 2022. 2021, we blessed with our first child and he was in ICU. We nearly lost him. He was going in and out of hospital. He was really challenging. And then at like end of like 2021, everything seems to like starting to get better. Then I fallen in completely. I was in hospitalized. I thought I'm gonna be dying. I couldn't get out of the house. Whole 2022 just having a lot of health issues. So it was really, really tough for me during the time. Like, I think a lot of people in this phase like experience some kind of bad thing. I spoke to so many people, interviewed, like some kind of thing happened in 2022, I think, like if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so
Yeah.
and after like you losing both of your parents, losing the business, like is there like your marriage start to break off or
Absolutely. It was too much for me. Excuse me. It was too much for me to be able to process. So just the staggering amount. My divorce was finalized in August of 21. And also I had to move from my farm. I owned a farm down here and it was just too much for me to manage by myself. So I had to move from my dream house in
Mhm.
October of 21 as well. And it was just too much for my brain to be able to process. So with me not having the right coping tools, I turned to alcohol. I didn't want to feel it. I didn't want to acknowledge the pain that was there. I just wanted to be numb. And I went through about a year and a half of struggling with addiction and just numbing myself out and severe depression. I was barely able to get out of bed. I was showering maybe once every 2 weeks. It was just a very difficult time because I just didn't want to live anymore. It was every time I started to get my head above water, I felt like a different tsunami would come down and hit me with something else and just drag me back under whenever I felt like I was starting to crawl my way out.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally feel that. Like I've been there so many times with that like situation, and this is the moment you don't feel you don't see any hope, and that people actually tend to take them like a different kind of things. Like you need to go in. Luckily, I survived from all that. Never had to touch a cigarette or like alcohol or anything like that. Not even that drugs. But a lot of times, like if you don't have the right kind of mindset or the guidance, sometimes you just fall into that. So how long like you was like being alcohol abusing alcohol?
So I abused alcohol for about a year and a half. I am happy to say that this coming Saturday is actually my 2 year sobriety anniversary. So I have
Oh,
officially made it
congratulations.
past the amount of time. Thank you so much. We're doing a big celebration for it.
Yeah, it's never easy like stopping something like it's crazy enough. And you got like all rights to go through that because think about it, like people probably you're gonna lean back on like after let's say you're a divorce, like your parents and they're not there at that time. Even though your parents not there, could be like your partner and he's not there because a lot of times it's like people close to you when you lose out, like you're not sure like which direction to head out. Like even though also your baby, your business, like you had to close down and so many things to process. And this is the dark moment, isn't it? So how did
Yes.
you get the like a kind of help or like working throughout like you've been in a so much of like a pressure on yourself, could be financially, could be emotionally, everything, like the addiction and top of that, like how did you get out of it? Like who gave you that holding hand to take you out, like, or like you had to do it yourself completely on your own?
No, I was very lucky. So I had two friends that really stepped in and they kind of rattled me. One of my friends actually, she forced my hand to go to a trauma rewiring conference down in
Mm.
Orlando. And that really was kind of my first step in okay, there's more to life. And the fact that, and this is the reason why I'm so open about my story, it was other people sharing the fact that their lives fell apart. They were a disaster for a while and they pulled themselves out. It was people being really raw and honest about their healing journey that really helped me because I was so hard on myself. I'm very type A. I like to be punctual. I like to be put together all the time. And the fact that I could barely shower I was ashamed of myself. And so it was other people sharing their messes. My first coach that I ever hired after I got sober, her tagline was always make your mess your message. And I find a lot of value in that. And that's why I try to be so real and raw about what I went through because I always hope that there's someone out there that needs to hear there is another side. There's so much to live for. Life that I have built for myself now. I can't imagine not being here. It's so beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, you need someone like that during the moment because only you see like a dark everywhere, and someone with the light you need to show you like there is a different direction you can take where life can be so much better and beautiful waiting for you. And for my case, like it was one of my sister, and she helped me out during the dark moment, and then later is my wife. So it's like sometimes like you need that kind of leap of faith and jump into the next step. So when you are going through the process of your healing journey, and how's your process looks like did you start working as a job, business, or like are you just completely focusing on like healing yourself or taking a career break?
Yes. So, actually, after I got sober, I actually stumbled into another career path. I helped business owners not make the same mistake that I made. So I helped them build business credit profiles so that they wouldn't have to take out personally guaranteed loans and they would already have access to the revenue or the cash flow that they needed if they did hit difficult times. So that was very rewarding for me. But I worked for that for about 14 months. And then
Mhm.
I realized that I still wanted more. I wanted to make a bigger impact in this world. And I didn't like the fact that I was forced to shrink myself in that job. I wasn't able to be my full authentic self in it. I had to be very corporate finance, and that's not me. I'm very much a yoga and t-shirt or maxi dress kind of girl. I don't like having to be dressed up and things like that. And I just wanted a career path where I could be unapologetically me and never worry about having to put myself into a different container.
Yeah, interesting. And so how did you figure out like what you want to do next? Like what's your next step about? What kind of business you want to be in, or like how you going to help out?
Yeah, absolutely. So it all started about a year ago. People started coming to me for their problems, for advice. So I do have my degree in psychology, and people were always like, "Hey, I have this situation going on. How would you handle it?" And the tagline that I heard the most was, you lived through pretty much everything. How would you do this? And so I started giving out advice to my friends and things like that, and giving them different tools and mechanisms to work through different difficulties of life. And I kind of woke up one morning and was like, I think I'd like to do this professionally. I think I'm here to have a big impact. And I really want to help people not go through what I went through, or if they are going through what I went through, getting through it in a much cleaner and nicer way than I had to go through.
Yeah. So that work you do right now, is it like a purely coaching, consulting?
So it is along the lines of coaching. It is called the Phoenix Code Method, and I work right now exclusively with women in turning their trauma into their unapologetic voice. So learning teaching women to step out of the box that we're programmed to be into and to not just sit still and look pretty, but to actually use their voice again. Because when I go back at my life, the abuse for me, because I was in an abusive marriage, I've had a lot of abusive friendships. The abuse all started when I started shrinking myself and when I
Mhm.
stopped standing up for myself and when I started just sitting down and looking pretty instead of saying the things that were on my mind. So I'm helping women kind of transform their lives by stepping into who they are and being unapologetic about it.
Yeah. And how does your process works? Like, what do you do for them, like, in order to create them such a kind of life?
Yeah, absolutely. So it is a very customized program. I am working on building out a few different platforms like workshops and things like that. But when I bring a client on, it all depends on where they're starting. But it's an integration of diet, exercise, mindset, meditation. We do some psychological work, some kind of therapy work, and guiding them through whatever they need to go through in order to get to the other side. It's very much a mind, body, spirit encompass type of program.
Hmm. Yeah, that's great. So with that, like everything you have gone through with your life, from your personal perspective to business, so what is the number one lesson life gave you?
Oh gosh, that's a good one. To always there's always another side. You just have to kind of you just have to get through it. You just have to always learn the lesson. There's always a lesson. And in everything that I've gone through, I've learned to write thank you letters for
Hmm.
every bad experience I've ever had. And I think that was probably one of the most impactful things for me was, thank you for my abusive marriage. Thank you for teaching me to never be in a relationship with a person who lies to me and that I know that they're lying to me. Just those thank you letters, finding gratitude in every situation, even when it's very difficult, because every experience that we have, it's my belief, is here to shape us.
Yeah. So knowing everything you know right now, and if you can go back to your past or like a younger version of yourself, what advice would you gonna give out so you don't have to go, or like someone like yourself doesn't have to go on some kind of addiction, alcohol, drugs, or whatever maybe.
It's funny because if I was able to go back and change anything, I wouldn't, which is, I know it may sound a little crazy, but the value and the lessons that I've learned along the way, I've realized I had to live through those hardships in order to shape the person that I've become today.
Mhm.
So, I guess the only advice I would give myself is keep going. There is another side. You can do this. You're strong enough.
All right, that's great. So thank you so much. So Kristen,
Yes, thank you.
we're nearly coming to end of this podcast. So before we wrap up here, if anyone wants to learn more about yourself or your business, where's the best place to find you?
Yes, so my website is thephoenixcodemethod.com and they can shoot me an email at hello@thephoenixcodemethod.com.
All right, that's great. Thank you so much for your time. I wish you very best of luck with everything you do, and
Yeah.
thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much. It was an absolute honor. Thank you so much.
It was my pleasure. Thank you. So that's a
Thank
wrap,
you.
guys. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast episode with Christen Ruiz. I hope you enjoyed our conversation. So if anyone wants to learn more about her, you can visit her website. I'm going to put the link on the description for you. Also, you can find her on the social media platforms. I'm going to get the links on the description for you as well. So until then, talk to you in the next episode. So take care.